Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to our second session with languages. And in this session, we'll be focusing on English and English revision. With me once again is Muslima Ismail, a tutor in both English and Afrikaans. Muslima, assalamu alaikum, and welcome once again.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Shukran so much for joining me, and of course, we look forward to another insightful session. And once again, we're inviting everyone, if you are tuning in right now on Facebook or YouTube and you might not be able to stay for the entire stream, these videos will be up. They will remain on YouTube and Facebook. You can go back and look at all those things that you've missed. And please do share these videos. I'm sure there are many others who could benefit from them as well. Share, like, and subscribe to the VOC platforms. Well, without further delay, Muslima, I'm going to hand over to you to proceed with today's lesson.
Okay. So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh once again to everyone that is joining us. So, jumping right into the second section of paper one. We're still doing paper one of English. So this would be home language, language, or second additional language. Summary. So I have an example of a summary question in a past paper. This is last year's past paper specifically. So that I can actually show you how to collect information. So when we do summaries, we are not necessarily reading it only for understanding. When we read it, we read for understanding, in addition to also recording. So, what that means is you're recording the information that's being asked for. So, you're specifically looking for that. So, in this question, they ask you the reasons for every employee in the field of technology improving his or her communication skills. And then, as I previously also mentioned in the Afrikaans, it works very similarly. When they ask for the 7 points, right? So your 7 points, they can either say it can either be in a fluent paragraph, which means the sentences come after each other, it flows. And then you don't need a title or to indicate you have to indicate the word count at the end of your summary. So the importance of this specific point over here is that if you go over the amount of words that you are supposed to have, then the marker will also count your word count, but they will stop reading once it reaches that point. So when it reaches 90 words and you have more, they will only stop reading at 90 words. So that is why it's important to try and summarize your thoughts, especially. So, in this text, we are looking specifically for 7 points, which is the reasons that for every employee in the field of technology improving his or her communication skills. So, just as examples here in the first or second sentence, they say, verbal communication poses a challenge to many people in the field of technology. This can prevent a technology rock star from reaching his full potential. So, when if we take or extract pieces from there, then we can extract the quote, reaching his full potential. But then when you have to write it in your own words, you can say effective communication enables one to maximize one's potential, right? And then also to when they say in the second part here, to be a leader requires effective communication. When you have to write it in your own words, you can say a good communicator stands a better chance of being a leader because they speak about communication. So it's just about using your words. So you can also use active and passive voice. That helps a lot. Sometimes if you need to stretch your word count, you can use active and passive voice. If you need to contract it as well, you can use the two interchangeably. Then also, just one more. Yeah. Our jobs are ultimately more than just technology. Our jobs involve many soft skills areas, including the ability to communicate effectively. Although verbal communication can be particularly challenging, it is also necessary. So this is quite a lengthy chunk out of this text. But when you want to summarize it, that whole thing, all in all, from our jobs are ultimately more than just technology, and ending at including the ability to communicate effectively, you can just say that soft skills are enhanced through effective communication. So in this way, you learn to understand. You read through it, you also understand it, but then you use other words that that's not included in the text, because for example, yeah, they don't use the word enhanced. So that will almost give you a credit because you're using something other than what is included in the summary. Um so just additional points for this is, while you are reading the text, you can actually just check, okay, here's a point, or there's a point. Or alternatively, when you are busy reading, you first read through it, and then you read the question again, and then the second time that you read through it, through the text, then you look for your points. But always remember, you can use active and passive voice interchangeably for summaries, and you can also use it to stretch your words when you have to do like a longer text, or you have to give longer answers as well. And then also, the mark allocation for this is also exactly the same as in Afrikaans. So you get 7 marks for 7 points. So in English, they usually ask you to make things in points. They will tell you if it can be in a paragraph form, or if you can put it in point form. So 3 marks will be for language, and 7 marks will be for points. So it's not good enough to just give the points. It's also to check, okay, your how you are using your language, if you are able to take a word and use it in different contexts, and still make it make sense in that way. And then also, when you quote verbatim, which means that you quote exactly like it is in the text, you will also lose marks there, right? Then also, now the second part of the summary, this can be a bit tricky for some, which is language structure and conventions. So this is analyzing advertising. So here you will usually get advertisements, or they can give you advertisements. They can also give you, a picture to analyze. You can also get sometimes maybe cartoons to analyze, but it's good to analyze advertisements to show that you understand something that has little words. So they first ask you to make a summary, and then they ask you almost to expand on something that is summarized. So just to check that you can work both ways and in both areas. So in this one, in this text, you have to look at this and then answer the questions that also follow, right? So this advertisement, breaking barriers, is about communications technology, because um, in the time that we see ourselves, technology is, increasingly becoming almost the main point of our existence, because it's almost as if I don't have my phone, like how am I gonna live? It's like you can't live without technology. So it's also very relevant. They will look at the relevance when giving you advertisements, cartoons, comprehensions as well. And when they also expound on it, when they say the simple act of talking can bring the world together. In the future, countries will no longer be divided by languages but united in dialogue. Families will come together in lively conversations, and people will be set free by reason, understanding, and speech. Simply put, the world will be a better place if only we talk to each other. Right. So this is definitely about communication, right? So it's also connected to what you saw in the summary, right? So they ask you in here, barriers break or when people talk, and explain how this headline is intended to influence the reader. So they say here, barriers break when people talk, right? So, when you are analyzing an advertisement, I would suggest firstly, explain it to yourself. So you look at the advertisement and you think, okay, what is this about? Try to use the different W's. What is this advertisement about? Why was it made? Who is it directed to? What it is about, why it was made, who it is directed to, and how they try to almost bring the message over to you, right? So, and then also another important thing is when. So depending on the timing of the advertisement, it will play a huge role in how people perceive it. So, for example, if this advertisement was put in the, I don't know, 1900s, then it wouldn't be taken exactly the same as it would now in 2021, or in 2020 when they gave this paper. So always do that assessment by yourself. So even if you ask like for extra paper where you can do, extra points or whatever, write it down for yourself. You can divide it up like that into the page. That will also work, because in answering it will make it easier. So when they ask, explain how this headline is intended to influence the reader. You don't just look at the words. You look at, because it's an advertisement, you look at the size, and you look at the structure, and then you look at the words. So the size and structure, you'll see, okay, is it bold? Is it fine? Is the font very attractive? Is it very fancy, or is it just in your face? So in this case, um, the use of the large font encourages the reader to think about it and to communicate freely, right? But initially, you can also say the use of alliteration, right? So they give you marks here for identifying the font, right? Or just what they use, because in literature font also plays an important role, because the way that you see a text, if you're going to look at perhaps legal papers and you see all of that words, you're really going to be deterred from reading that text, because it's so much. But because this is an advertisement, the font and the alliteration, it almost grabs your attention because it is there in your face. And then the second is, what is the advertiser intention in referring to future events? Right. So because you already answered these five W's to yourself, now it will make it easier here. Because the answer to this will just be one sentence, because it's only for 2 marks, which means like a single point, or just not even 2 points, just 1 point in a full sentence is enough. So the advertiser wants to convince the reader that Airtel, which is the company that they are advertising, will make communication better. So it's almost like a technology revolution that is being promoted in this, and the advertiser is making you optimistic about the future, because you also see the children in this. So in this advertisement, they're speaking about the future, and you see children playing here, and this wires in the background, which is the wires in the background, and the poles over here shows the wires of communication. And then the children in here as well also shows you something about the future, because there's a saying that they always say, the children are our future. So that is why they put the children there, because it's also like more free spirited, and it's very, children, when they use children in advertisements, usually it brings a sense of also happiness, and almost a free spirit in that sense. So then the third question also, is the visual image suitable for this advertisement? So now you're going to look at what the advertising, which is the communications, and Airtel, which is the company that they are promoting, and you connect that to the whatever you see there. So you see there the barbed wire fence, you see the wires, and then you see the children playing. So there's 2 points of this answer, right? You can either say yes or you can say no, because ultimately it's your choice. Then the one, you will either say yes, and then you answer, if you answer yes, you can say that the concept of the barriers is showed by the barbed wire, the fence in the background, and the boys, they aren't even worried about the wire, they're oblivious to it, and they are communicating through sport. So they show us that through the communication of sport, they free spirited and happy as well. And Airtel, they having this claim, no, to overcome these barriers of the barbed wire fence and give opportunities for communication through their medium. So they that free spirit with the children playing with the ball and communicating in that way, that transcends into what they are trying to teach us by their communication influences. And then if you do say no, you can just say that communication is evident in the visual because the two boys are playing, right? And then the barbed wire confines the two of them, and the product itself is not represented in there. So you will definitely get this the 3 marks if you discuss the actual visual. So the main visual uh, the main visuals in here are the boys playing with the ball and that barbed wire fence. So you have to mention that. You have to go into specific detail. And then the last question is the language in the written text, right? So discussing how the advertiser succeeds in juxtaposing division and unity to convey his or her message. So the answer in relation to this advertisement is that the advertiser is acknowledging that language is a barrier in communications, and how people communicate, and they use words almost to attach to your feelings. So they say, a simple act and set free and bring the world together, and united in dialogue. So it is there to persuade the reader that a communication network or something that aids in communication is necessary, because we already struggling with it. And because this is a communications company, that makes sense. And then regarding unity, so unity and division are juxtaposed, because the the countries would be united in dialogue instead of being divided by languages. So it's almost like two contradictory types of words that is used, but in a harmonious way. So this antithesis, it contrasts the concepts of separation and harmony. So it's almost as if they bring those two aspects together, even though it's so different from each other. And then also, moving on in this paper, there is a cartoon, right? So just to quickly go through this, um, so a cartoon, in this cartoon, it's very similar to the first one we did when we spoke about the comprehension and the cartoon that was in addition to that, because the two were connected. So again, they use the words here, identifying, account for, um, and you constantly have to refer, and then they also ask you to justify. So it's the same. It's the same tools that you use for the cartoon that you would use in the first instance. So it's not very much different in the two ways, and you have to really pay attention to those words, as I previously mentioned. And then the last part of this paper is just as I explained in the Afrikaans paper as well. And then also one more thing that I wanted to mention is also in the language that we are speaking about, in language usage, which is the last section of this exam paper. um they speak about it is time to break up with plastic. Then when we speak about idioms, it's also idiomatic expressions that we do get in Afrikaans. So this is also a bit, it can be a bit tricky. So this is where you go over what is called language usage, and in Afrikaans we call it taalgebruik. So um yeah. So there's, for example, yeah, the idiom, there are plenty of fish in the sea. So idioms are just sayings. Idioms are common sayings, but idiom is a word used for to describe what common sayings are specifically. So there are plenty of fish in the sea. So this idiomatic expression is so common that so many people can have many different answers. So you can either say, um, you know, you can either refer to it as a way of, when they use plenty of fish in the sea, almost as to say when they refer to marriage. In this case, that is not the case. So you put it into context. Or plenty of fish in the sea, like the the it won't we will just have we'll never have a limited number of them. Or from whichever aspect you take it, you can answer in that way. And then in 5.2, just to go through it quickly, because I know time is going. In the second and third lines, you are ugly crying into your pillow after having a difficult breakup, right? So, as I mentioned, plenty of fish in the sea, they refer to having a partner or marriage. Um, when they speak to either a girl or a boy, whichever one. So they are doing this contrast between being in a relationship, or breaking up, and they're referring to plastic and the use thereof, right? So in the answer, when you say ugly crying, it is a participle or a compound word, right? So this means that it describes the manner in the way that the person cries, right? So that's how we understand participle and compound words. So in English, this this dash over here indicates that it is a compound word because that brings the two words together, right? And then just another example question that I can make a reference to, or at 5.5, cartons of milk, tubs of yogurt, bags and punnets of fruit and vegetables, packets of pasta, polystyrene, clad meat and fish. So rewriting it as a complete sentence. Thus is testing if you actually understand what they're saying and how you are going to use it. So the only important part here is that the the main clause of the sentence can be at the end of the sentence, right? So you can also say, like the way that you will start it, you can say, you will find, or there are, or there may be, or there will be, you know, cartons of milk, tubs of yogurt, bags and piles of fruits and vegetables, etc. You can use it in that way. And then just a okay, so 5.7, concord error. So this is in paragraph 3. So yeah, it's totally chill though, based because you recycle. Of all the plastic that you found in your kitchen alone, more than 60% are unable to be recycled, right? So yeah, they're speaking about recycling is the fairy tale we've all been brainwashed into accepting as a silver bullet, that if we separate our waste, it will all be taken somewhere by magical people, right? So yeah, they are asking in 5.7 specifically provide, okay, first 5.7.2, the Concord error, it is 60%. They say that 60% are, right? More than 60% are unable. So that does not even sound right. So it's more than 60% is unable to be recycled. So are will change with ease, right? And then the last and final question in here, just so that I don't take too much more time, is silver bullet, and providing a suitable word for the expression of silver bullet. So it is almost as a solution, or an answer, or a remedy. You can use any one of the two, depending on the way that you see it. They can just see, but solution or answer would be the most common, because the silver bullet is what they refer to as a solution to the problems, basically. So in a nutshell, that is what the last section of the of paper one, which is section 3 of paper one. That's what it is about. And the again, not to constantly mention the same thing, but it is very important for everyone to understand that in order to become proficient, especially in language, to understand language usage, and to be able to put all of those things into practice, we have to practice. And the only way to get there will always be practice. Fortunately, and unfortunately, you have to sacrifice a lot of time, but fortunately, you will still be learning. So I hope that everyone understood this very well, inshallah. And if there are any inquiries, or you need any advice or tips, or you want the as I mentioned previously, you get a question exam terminology dictionary. You can also contact me for that. It will definitely help with regards to cartoons, mostly, and also advertisements. Um, but also, once again, the most important or the best advice is just to practice, 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 because there's nothing more that you can do besides practicing.
Muslima Ismail, shukran so much once again for that fantastic session. People can email you on Ismail Muslima, that's ISMAIL MUSLIMAH at gmail.com. And of course, that's if you want any of the material, or if you'd like to ask a few questions. These sessions will remain up on YouTube and on Facebook for the foreseeable future. So if you've missed it, or if you've just gotten the last portion of it, you're welcome to go back and check out the full video. And also, please do share it widely, like and subscribe to the channels, and yeah, make sure that everyone gets to benefit from these sessions. Once again, Muslima, shukran kathir, all the best, and wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
عفوا وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
Well, that's been our matric revision program for today, focusing on English. And of course, don't forget the Afrikaans one, also conducted by Muslima earlier on. They will remain up here on Facebook and YouTube. From myself, Mohammed Fasih Peterson, I bid you wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and have a safe day wherever you may be.